as we wrap up factoring, what happens if I have two terms, not three? Okay, so I don't have a B and a C this time. But I have two terms. They don't have anything in common that I can take out. What the heck am I going to do?
Divide it by that, you give it x, and then you factor it from there. Then you take out the common factor of that, and then you factor.
You're on the right track with a couple of small adjustments. So what you're going to notice on a lot of these two-termers are both terms are perfect squares. Okay, Hardy, what do you mean? So what I mean is the numbers that you're working with, if you go to the chart, I'm just going to kind of do this quick with some of them. So if I go to 81, all right, here's my chart, 81. I'm going to find the same number, 9 and 9. Or if I go to the chart, 16. Hey, I find the same number, 4 and 4. Hey, 49. 7 and 7. Now I'm actually going to circle all of them on my sheet so it's easy to find them. Any box that you have that's a perfect square is going to have a pair where the numbers are the same. So 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. All we're looking for are boxes that have that. Yep, 49, 64, 81, and 100 to wrap it up. Again, even if you're like, Hardy, you're going too quick, you're just looking for places where you see the same number multiplied by itself. Those are perfect squares. And if we circle them, that's going to help us find these when we need them. So here's the easy peasy part about this. I can either take the square root of the square. I could use my calculator instead. Again, square root, if you're going to go to the calculator, is second, and x squared will get my square root. I could do it that way too. And here's how I like to do it. So I always say, what do I square to get each one? What do I multiply by itself to get that value? Well, x times x is x squared. 9 times 9 is 81. And then all you got to do, there is no more thinking involved. X and x, 9 and 9, and we get 1 plus and 1 minus every single time. Just find that and work it. So for any of these, all you're going to do, if you're not sure on a number, you're going to go looking on your chart. You're going to go, okay, 16 is 4 and 4. So this is 4. It also has x this time, though. I think I can figure out 1 on my own. Once I figure out what those two things are, literally, 4x goes first, whatever I wrote here. 1 goes second for each of those. Whatever's first up here goes first in the parentheses. The order on these doesn't matter as long as you have one of each. So yeah, if you would put like 4x minus 1, 4x plus 1, you're still okay. Yeah, normally we just say plus minus because that's the way a lot of our brains tend to think. And so with any of these, the pattern is still the same. If I'm looking in my chart, I'm just using what I have in the box that's the same. If I'm using my calculator, I'm doing second and x squared, and then just typing the number in. And I can get the 7 that way as well. Get my parentheses set. 1 plus 1 minus, but the difference, oh, Solve, we have an equals. So if we get solve,
It's going to be the same thing, but one's positive, one's negative.
that's right. We're going to set those equal to 0. We're going to do an opposite. The opposite of plusing 7 is to minus 7. The opposite of minusing 7 is to add 7 or make it positive. And I get my 2 answers. I don't have to do that every time, but when it says solve, I do. So we got one last one. What number do I square to get 25? Look in the chart for 25. What number is doubled up?
5.
5. What number doubled up is 64? 8. Again, this one got x because there was an x squared with it. Yep, and then it's as simple as the 5x goes first, the 8 goes second, 1 plus 1 minus. Yes, you still can get decimals. Decimals are not a bad thing.
There's only 20 days of school.
It's coming quick. Now this one, I got to work a little more because it's not just one add or subtract and we're done. And I wish I would have written smaller, but we're going to get around this. So yeah, we're getting decimally this time. Let's see here. Negative 8 divided by 5. Negative 1.6. And positive 1.6. Okay, that's our first special case that we're dealing with. Looking to see. Okay. So if they're the shorties, if they're only 2 terms, that's how we're going to deal with them. If they're 3 terms, oh dear. Okay, and your first and last terms are perfect squares. You're like, oh yeah, 9 and 25, okay. 4 and 49, 16 and 81. If I look at my chart, they are. So, square root, both perfect squares, or look them up on your chart. So what's squared, or what times itself is 9? 3. Get my x. Okay, my 25? 5. So now here's how this one's going to work. Still 3x to start. Still 5 to finish. What signs am I going to use? Now here's the thing. We're not doing plus minus this time. Because that sign at the end is positive. Now we remember back. There it is. Because our C value is positive, you just look at the sign in the middle term. That's the one we use for both. So your only real job with these is going to be to see what number do you square to get each piece. And again, you can use your chart. You can use second and x squared on the calculator. Both of them are perfectly fine. I think you're got it. So again, the sign in the middle will tell you which sign to use. And that's only true when it's plus on the end, which it's going to be for all of these. And so when we get to the last one, and again, we'll flash the charts up here again. 81, let me find my 81 here. There's my 81, 9. Doesn't have an x, just this one does. This time, though, we got an and solve. 4x first. 9 second in both. Steal that sign from the middle. Now, here's the nice thing about these. These sets of parentheses are both the same every single time on these. So we've only got to solve one of them. We don't have to do both since they're the same thing. That'd be kind of repetitive. I think that sounds pretty good to me. Going decimally again. Yeah. I've been doing it for a long time. There's a lot of things I do in my head that sometimes people are like, wait, what? My honors algebra 2 class right now is doing a bunch of stuff with radicals. I can do those in my head too when I see a decimal. But that's, again, because I've been doing them forever. So it's a little more...
You ever fail class?
What's that?
You ever failed class?
No. I got a B once.
Bad?
I got a B once. It was my freshman biology class.
Wait, so like, do colleges look at like all your grades or just like your senior?
Oh dear. I will get into the whole discussion of college and stuff when we're not making a video on this. But yeah, when we get done, the answer to your question is they look at a lot of things. A whole lot of things. Not just grades. Colleges do not just look at grades when they're... Is it a big part? Sure. But they want to make sure they're getting a solid all-around person when they're having you into their campus. We'll discuss that at the end here. So, okay. In the practice, one side we're going to be doing the square root and stuff. And one side we're just going to be doing the trinomial stuff. This should be like the easiest day, hopefully, we've seen in a while. If you don't want to keep looking at your chart all the time, I can understand that. Maybe, I'm actually going to do this on the notes. Hang on a second here. Let me kind of put both of them on here. When we're looking at all these perfect squares, let me go ahead. This might make life easier when you're on a quiz too, instead of having to go looking around. If you've got them down in your brain, that's an awesome thing too. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to put the square roots of the perfect squares down below here. So if you're working on a problem, let's say, when we get going here in a minute with our special cases, and you're like, okay, x squared and 64. Instead of having to go find 64 on your calculator or in your chart, you can just come here now and go, oh, it's 8. Or if you get 36, oh, it's 6. And just have it there right in front of you instead. Again, work smarter, not harder. And so if I've got those, I'm just going to move them down a little bit here so we can see what we're doing. And we're doing any of these. Let's say we're doing number 2. Like, okay, 4x squared. Okay, that's 2 with my x. 81. Whoop, that's 9. Notice I never take signs with. The signs get taken care of by the pattern. 2x goes first. 9 goes second. We always got 1 plus and 1 minus. Why? Because that's the only way I can get negative 81. And if there's no equals 0 or solve, that's it. And those are done. 9. 9 in the practice. Now, one thing we did not see when we were doing the notes that I want to make sure we touch on is we get down a little further here to number 10. Well, actually, yeah, 10 and 11. Let's play with 11 actually, because that'll let us take care of a couple things. You're like, wait, Hardy, 225 is not on your list, and it is bigger than what's in my chart. Okay, That's why we chatted about having the option of going to the calculator if we needed to. Second, an x squared. There's my square root right there. 225. So that is going to be 15x. What's up with this being a variable, Hardy? That's not supposed to happen. Well, it can. It can. Y times y is y squared. We can make this work still. It's going to look a little weird, but that's my first term in both, 15x. That's my second term in both, y. And it's still 1 plus, 1 minus. Nothing different. It's all about kind of finding the pattern and then rolling with it. Even if it looks a little different, the pattern itself still works. One last thing on that. What about number 10? Okay. What do we square to get 16? 4. Don't forget my x. What do I square to get 9? 3. Don't forget your y. Pattern's the same. Whatever your first term is goes first in both sets of parentheses. Whatever you got second goes second in both of those. 1 plus, 1 minus. And that is not G. Somebody's going to say it. Hardy, why'd you write G? That's a Y. I just got a little sloppy. And we roll that out. Now, on the back, I don't think I did anything too screwy. Oh, I did a little bit of screwy. Okay. Let's do 2 of the... Oh, wait. Nope, I see the 2 I want. Okay, I want 23 and 25 here. Because they both have little things that we may not quite be ready for here. Square for your first term. Hardy, 169's not on the chart. Okay, okay, we got this. Second square root, 169. 13. Once we got that, and we got our sign in the middle, I'm actually going to give you one more heads up here, because I know some of you use the answers at the bottom, and they're both minus. Okay, that is a perfectly fine answer. You're like, Hardy, that doesn't match anything at the bottom, though. The only thing that's close is like that. So what's going on here? Yeah, if they're the same thing, you also can write it as that quantity squared. They're the same thing. They multiply out the same. They both get us back to this. But this is just the kind of more compact, simpler way to write it. But again, absolutely both correct. So if you were wondering, just something to put out there. And finally, so we don't let anything mess us up, do the same process on 25 that you did on 23. What do we square to get 81? 9. We square x to get x squared. Huh? 9, x, sign in the middle. The reason I mention this is, if at some point you would get one of these with a minus in the middle, yes, it matters whether the x is first or the 9 is first. So you really have to be a little bit careful sometimes.
So if it's negative 6x plus 9, it would be both negative, right?
Yep.
What if it was 20? What if it was x plus 6x minus 9 and b plus 10 minus?
Yes, but that's going to be a whole different thing too. With all of these, you're going to have pluses for your last term, which is going to tell you the signs are going to be the same. That's the one thing. If we'd have a minus on the end of one of these, now we're back doing what we did before with our C and our B value. So your job, play with the rest of these, check answers, but this is an easier one if you give yourself a chance here on 9 and 10 to really have a little bit of momentum going here with you going into tomorrow when we're going to start the review process for the quiz. Wednesday will be the legit review, and the quiz is going to be on Thursday. Now, this is me speaking in 2024. If you see this in 2026, it may not be Thursday, but I'm just saying.